The worldview people receive from the educational system and mainstream media is purposely naive and overly clean. It does not take into account self-interests of their own leaders. This worldview is countered by conspiracy theories, which are Calimero stories of a big evil, all-powerful government that suppresses its citizens. These theories counter stories with stories, are overly imaginative and do not take into account the reality of the world, which is that every move power makes also has weaknesses. This presentation will reveal the board game of the world, who has which cards, how they are laid at the moment, and how they have played up until these positions. It is for people who are seeing things in this society that do not make sense, events at the tip of the iceberg, and want to know the real reasons behind them. Only if you know how the board game is being played can you gain advantage. Otherwise, you're just a pig in the farm. There are only 3 ingredients required to come to the reality of this society: insights of geniuses with an IQ above 160, common sense, and real-life empirical tests that are reproducible. The first chapter of this presentation already reveals, through a reproducible empirical test, a lie that is deeper and more extreme than any other lie you have heard of. The content of this presentation is structured as a pyramid, by which we go deeper and deeper into the societal system. After the empirical tests, it will be revealed how complete recurring events are being manipulated. From this, the overall structure of the system is derived. Then, the presentation goes over to the short-term history of this system. Then, which actors are behind it. And then it ends with the long-term history, which will bring you back to its previous version and will reveal the deepest realities on which this society floats. Let's start. George Orwell was the master of societal criticism through allegory. An example is Animal Farm. Through a story of speaking animals on a farm, it shows the corruption of revolutions that claim to be for the good of the people. Yet the focus of this presentation is not Animal Farm, but his other famous work, 1984. An allegory about a global system that keeps people under control. In the book there are 4 ministries: the Ministry of Peace, occupied with war; the Ministry of Love, occupied with torture; the Ministry of Plenty, occupied with starvation; and the Ministry of Truth, occupied with lies. In this first chapter, the focus will be on the Ministry of Truth. In the beginning of the book there is a paragraph about the thought police watching the protagonist in his living room through a telescreen. Obviously this is an allegory, which should not be taken literally. The thought police is not literally watching people from the telescreen. The translation of the allegory is that the telescreen is impacting the minds of people by what it broadcasts, which let people walk in the direction that society wants. Yet this society seems to be either not smart enough or otherwise unwilling to translate the allegory correctly. When 1984 was turned into a movie, the telescreen was interpreted literally as a screen from which a face was looking into the rooms of the civilians. If we connect the telescreen to the Ministry of Truth, we can deduct that lies are constructed in the Ministry of Truth and then broadcasted through the telescreen. In the book, Orwell describes that this ministry has elaborately equipped studios for the faking of photographs. So the Ministry of Truth constructs lies through the faking of images and then broadcasts them through the telescreen to impact the minds of the people. Images through screens are easily manipulated. In this picture you see someone lifting 5 plates, while in reality, he is only lifting 1 plate. With a screen you can show anything you want. In 1984, Orwell also describes that the world is divided into 3 superstates: Oceania with English socialism, Eurasia with neo-Bolshevism, and Eastasia with Chinese obliteration of the self. It is clear that the world Orwell describes in his allegory 1984 is our post-World War II system, with the 3 superstates being United States, Soviet Union, and China, and their respective spheres of influence. He further mentions that the conditions in the 3 superstates are very much the same. People don't understand that the differences between the West and the Soviet Union were only superficial differences. On a fundamental level, these 2 superstates were the same. Why did the Soviet Union had school gyms which looked the same as ours? Had new electronic devices in the same decades as ours? Had traffic lights working in the same way as ours? Had nurses that looked the same as ours? and supermarkets with the same product packages for milk, beans, and the same principles for shopping carts, checkouts, etc. These principles and attributes of living were all standardized and coordinated on a global level. A truly independent culture could take purple as the color for a traffic light, or doubt whether it would use traffic lights at all and instead use another principle to guide traffic. The reason why people think these two superstates are fundamentally different is also given by Orwell. Though the life conditions are the same, the inhabitants are taught to execrate the other superstates as barbarous outrages upon morality and common sense. In the West, civilians received images of the Soviet Union with extreme poverty and misery. But not only did the West execrate what happened in the Soviet Union, also Soviet Union execrated what happened in the West. For example, that there were 2,263 strikes in London in 1975, and that behind the external charm of San Francisco, thousands of Americans had settled in misery and hopelessness. Ironically, in the West, they taught 1984 as a political satire about the USSR, while in the USSR, they taught 1984 as a political satire about the BBC. Orwell correctly saw that the West and Soviet Union are the same systems. They either use the same principles or the West used the principles from the Soviet Union at a later moment. For example, in the past, USSR was criticized for sending children to daycare from an early age to teach them a collective mindset, and because the low wages did require both men and women to work. Nowadays, this is the exact strategy that the West follows. Also for agricultural land. The Communist Party had never been happy with private agriculture and saw collectivization as the best remedy for the problem. In the West, they are doing exactly the same nowadays, via climate change policies. Orwell mentions, the only secure basis for oligarchy is collectivism, the abolition of private property. They aim to do this in the USSR. They are doing this in the West. It only requires printing money, so that house prices rise and new generations cannot buy houses anymore. All these examples to show that Orwell was writing about the global system that we live in, and therefore he was required to put his messages in political allegory, as that is the only way he was able to publish criticism on a global system that he was himself part of. This presentation will translate these allegories, and in that way reveal how this system works. For example, the Ministry for Peace, occupied with war. This is the United Nations, claiming to stand for peace, yet after World War II, the world stage have never been without war. Orwell writes, war had been literally continuous. No invasion of enemy territory is ever undertaken. All that is needed is that a state of war should exist. This is exactly what happens in the modern world. Continuous war, without fundamental movement in territory. Compare the movements of these wars with World War I and II, where complete countries were occupied in matters of months. All that is needed is that a state of war should exist. The wars are happening on 0.00032% of the area of the world. Yet these wars are broadcasted all over the world, in every bar, in every living room. Again, the system that Orwell is describing in the book 1984 is our system. It has a ministry of truth, occupied with lies. It's concerned with news, entertainment, education, and the fine arts. Mapping this to our current times, entertainment refers to, for example, YouTube and Netflix, the news to CNN, for example, and education to everything taught at school, like science and history. Also note that in 1984, all the ministries do the exact opposite of what they state. The Ministry of Truth is not occupied with small deviations of the truth, but with fundamental lies. In the following video, a fundamental lie of the Ministry of Truth will be shown, revealed through empirical tests. A Winchester 308 is a sniper rifle, used by the military to kill opponents at distances up to 1 kilometer. This is a Winchester 308 sniper rifle aimed at a log. 6-meter distance. 308-180 grains bullet, with a muzzle velocity of 735 meters per second. Preparing for the shot. Focus on the small black circle, which is where the bullet will hit the target. The bullet went around 2.5 centimeters deep. A double check with a thicker twig is done. It's pushed hard here. Note that the 2.5 centimeters is the size of the bullet. Let's now watch a YouTube video of a shot at a tree with 308 bullets that are slightly weaker than the 308 bullets used in the previous fragment. The YouTube account has 1.24 million subscribers on YouTube and has been on History Channel. Here he shoots at a 21.5 centimeter diameter tree. The bullet went straight through the tree. Here he shoots at a 25.5 centimeter diameter tree. The bullet went straight through the tree. Remember Orwell's Ministry of Truth, with their elaborately equipped studios for the faking of photographs. Orwell refers to image and video editing. Other videos on YouTube about log penetration show the same false results and signs of video editing. If you argue YouTube is just for entertainment, watch the following scientific paper of a penetration test on a wooden panel with a 7.62mm gun, which is weaker than a 308. The scientific paper claims the bullet penetrates a 30-centimeter wooden panel with 42% loss of energy after penetration, meaning that according to this claim, the projectile could even penetrate a wooden panel that is thicker than 30 centimeters. While reproducible empirical tests in reality with stronger bullets show 2.5 centimeters penetration on a wooden log. As Orwell wrote, the lies of the Ministry of Truth span over entertainment as well as education. Orwell states that this system defies the laws of nature. If one makes the link with the telescreen and the faking of videos, it is clear that he means that through video editing, the system gives the image that it can defy the laws of nature. Here a video of a 28-centimeter wooden log completely penetrated with a handgun. According to the laws of physics, a handgun is 5 times weaker than a 308 sniper. Also watch how clean the penetration hole is and compare this to the shattered bullet hole in the first video. Here again, a non-faked test with a .308 sniper rifle, now on a thin piece of waxed leather. Look at the penetration. Clearly difficult for the bullet to penetrate. The bullet only grazed the log behind it, no penetration. This is the result when a leather patch is shot at the shooting range with a 308 at 25 meters distance. The bullets don't penetrate, but ricochet. This is the comparison with the holes on a cardboard shooting target. Now look at this YouTube video, 35 pieces of leather shot with a handgun, which is 5 times weaker than a 308, according to the laws of physics. This is a popular YouTube account with more than 4 million subscribers.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 24, 25.
25 pieces of leather penetrated.
25. Goodness gracious.
Orwell writes that 2 and 2 makes 5, referring to an imaginary world on screens. In the real world, 2 and 2 makes 4. That is the meaning of, freedom is the freedom to say that 2 and 2 makes 4. If that is granted, all else follows. According to Orwell, the laws of the real world need to be brought back to light. And it's not only YouTube Entertainment that claim that leather can easily penetrate bullets. This system also makes the historical claim that leather was not resistant to bullets. The lies of the Ministry of Truth span over entertainment and education, and are perfectly aligned with each other. The following video is a test with a bulletproof vest, using a 9mm. The video is from a daily journal in the year 1924. The vest protects perfectly, both in terms of penetration as well as force impact. Now look at a YouTube video of 2020, showing a test on a bulletproof vest with a 9mm. Note that there is no difference in kinetic energy between a 9mm from 1901 and a modern 9mm. This bullshit is all over YouTube, in whatever form. Also on the news. They claim being shot with a 9mm while wearing a bulletproof vest is the same as being hit by a baseball bat.
Watch how much water sprays out of this bottle. That'll give you a good idea how strong the impact is.
In this training video,
The Ministry of Truth spans over entertainment, education, and the news. Also, when shooting tires, the differences between tests in reality and all YouTube videos are extreme. Here, a test in reality with a 308. Bullet stopped at the front. No holes in the back. It's also admitted by outside shooting range owners that tires in the back are meant to stop bullets. Yet watch now all the YouTube videos. Test with a 9mm. The speed of a 308 at 100 meters is 769 meters per second. The energy at that speed is 3,220 joule. The speed of a 9mm is 360 meters per second. The energy at that speed is 481 joule.
Metal jackets, these are 115 grain, 9mm. Okay, so the other 9mm stopped on the fourth one. I see it entering. I see the entry on the fourth one, but it stopped somewhere inside the
3 to 4 tires penetrated with a 9mm.
Where's the entrance? Right over here. I see it. Because there's on the third one, you can see it over here coming in, and it looks like it lines up exactly with this one. So that's the fourth, and it did not go out of the fourth. So it took 3 to 4 tires to stop a 9mm.
Another YouTube video.
Today we're going to try and shoot
All of
through
them
this
have the
old
same
tire that I
results.
found on the side of the road. I've got 3 guns with me. We're going to try and see how well each one can do at shooting through the tire. Today we're just going to start off with this small single stack subcompact pistol. It's called the M&P Shield, and it's chambered in 9mm. And we're just going to be shooting a 9mm 115 grain FMJ round up. So I went completely through the tire, through the front side, all the way through, and then out this back side. You can see both of these holes.
Tire completely penetrated.
I made the mistake of trying to keep the tire from falling, and I grabbed it, but since there's little metal pieces coming out from where the bullet came from, it actually cut my finger.
Note that also on YouTube, the .308 is shown stronger than the 9mm, so they take the differences in energy into account. The fact that in reality, a 308 cannot penetrate a tire, while in YouTube videos of 9mm can penetrate 4 tires, shows the manipulation through screens that is going on.
Full metal jacket rounds. So that's going to be the first gun that I'm going to test. We'll probably give it one. Where I hit with that 9mm. Now, here's the cool thing. Let me show you this. There is the 2 marks for where those 2 9mm hit. And you can see it came through the tire and hit this rim. So it came through.
The 9mm went through the front of the tire, but not the rim.
This rim stopped it. So what that means is it's time to break out the 308 to see if we can get all the way through this bad boy. So, for those of you that are not familiar with my channel or hadn't watched any of my other stuff, this is the 308 that I love doing a lot of tests with. I am going to be shooting the exact same name brand ammo with the exact same style of bullet. Full metal jacket tool ammo, 150 grains. Let's shoot this thing 2 times and see what the heck happens, guys. I'm pumped. That right there, make sure I get this where you guys can see it. Good deal. So there is an exit, there is a pass through there. So this is the inner lining of the first part of the rim. So I shot it on this side, came through the tire, both bullets passed through here and here, and then look right there, 2 nice big old holes, and it is still smoking out of that. It's kind of warm. Tire, and we have both exit holes.
The 308 went through the tire and the rim.
And right,
Not only in penetration, but also in energy impact, reality differs from the screen. On the screen, a vest with ballistic plate moves when being hit. In reality, with a 308, a stronger gun than the AK-47, a vest with ballistic plate does not move when hit. The sustainability of lies like this is based on 2 core principles. The first one is reality versus screens. The civilian sees guns and their impact 1,000 times on screens, yet they don't experience gun impact in reality. The only places where guns are actively used are on shooting ranges, for hunting, and in the military. The use of guns in the military will be part of the next chapter. Less than 0.01% of the population is involved with guns on shooting ranges and in hunting. On shooting ranges, strength of guns can never be detected. Hunting is mainly focused on small animals, from which nothing about gun strength can be concluded. Big cattle hunting is an image given by television, as fake as the YouTube videos on gun impact. Hence, instead of from direct experience, the information that civilians get about gun impact is from screens and books, the news, movies, encyclopedias. The news is not a representation of reality. Since the advent of the internet, countless media events have been put under a magnifying glass by critical civilians, and the only possible conclusion is that these events are acted. Yet all these critical civilians are not aware of the reason that news events with guns, like school shootings and terrorist attacks, are acted to sustain the lie about gun strength. For example, Charlie Hebdo. The videos show people being shot without any signs of physical damage. It was also detected that the same people played different roles in different media events. A woman that died in the Sandy Hook school shooting in 2012 was also injured in the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. There are policemen among us who can testify that police officers are perfectly aware up front at which date and time events like these are planned to happen. Some fake media events are even completely leaked, like the execution of Romanian dictator Ceausescu in 1989. Here they are waiting for the execution. And there they wake back up. If you think that these are exceptions and that other media events where guns are involved are honest representations of reality, then it is the same naivety as when someone finds out his wife is cheating and concludes that it's an exceptional case and not a definition of his relationship with her. To defend itself, the system claims this leaked material is a short film that challenges the notions of reality. Didn't you find it strange that guns are not used in practical daily matters, like putting prisoners to death or killing cows? This is a society full of screens, exactly because this system intends to show events on screens that do not align with how the physical reality works. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. A book that explains the strategies of this system stated, "In all ages, the people of the world, equally with individuals, have accepted words for deeds, for they are content with a show and rarely pause to note, in the public arena, whether this show is followed by reality. Therefore, we shall establish show institutions, which will give eloquent proof of their benefit to progress. Later it will be revealed by who this book was truly written, and which group it truly targets." The second reason the lie is not discovered is that deviations from the screen are ignored in reality. Even if someone sees a deviation in reality between what is claimed via screens and what he experiences in reality, he will think there is another explanation, as he does not expect his rulers would lie to that extent. This principle is explained in the book Mein Kampf. There are people who believe the framing of this system, that Mein Kampf is Hitler explaining the propaganda strategies that he is planning to apply on the masses. Yet why would a dictator write in a public book about the deceit that he is planning? That is like planning to rob a bank and first publishing a book about it. The reality is that this system has revised and covered up the major parts about the German era between the 1920s and the 1940s, and this book, of which big chunks are deleted and rewritten, still contains traces of the analysis of the global system that we live in today. It states, "In the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility. The civilians themselves often tell small lies in little matters but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods. Even though the facts which prove this to be so may be brought clearly to their minds, they will still doubt and waver and will continue to think that there may be some other explanation." Ignoring reality is also explained by Orwell through the word crime stop. It is the faculty of stopping short, as though by instinct, at the threshold of any dangerous thought. It is failing to perceive logical errors if they are inimical to what society dictates. In the following video it will be shown how people keep denying reality in favor of the claims of this system, even though the reality speaks for itself. In this leaked video, a soldier is hit by a sniper on his helmet. Reminding the tests with the sniper in the previous video, the bullet will obviously never go through the helmet.
Давай, ходи, ходи. Живой? Не, братан. Работает снайпер! Снайпер работает!
This is indeed what the video shows. Yet the commenters on this video come up with other explanations, as they try to fit the content of the video with the narrative that they have been told their whole life, which is that a sniper can penetrate a helmet. This commenter, for example, claims that the bullet hit the wall first, and then the helmet, which would be the reason it did not penetrate. Again, citing Mein Kampf here, which explains that observers will try to find other explanations if they see something that contradicts the narrative of the system. If a bullet is shot at a wall, they would say it goes straight through the wall, but if it's stopped by a helmet, they say it ricocheted on a wall first before hitting the helmet. They will always bend their explanations to fit what they have believed their whole life. This juggling with multiple contradicting facts to justify observations is explained by Orwell in the following paragraph. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4. Sometimes, Winston. Sometimes they are 5. Sometimes they are 3. Sometimes they are all of them at once. Another example. Steel ballistic plates to protect against bullets. If it's called steel ballistic level 3 plates, it protects against bullet penetration. If it's called World War I steel helmet, it only protects against shrapnel from grenades, not against bullets. Here a video of a man wearing a bulletproof vest against an AK-47 shot at 20 centimeters distance.
Aspetta Pietro. Devi fare.
This aligns with the bulletproof vest video of 1924 earlier in this presentation, but is different to what is shown by media and news. These videos exist because, quoting out of Mein Kampf, the grossly impudent lie always leaves traces behind, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world, and to all who conspire together in the art of lying.
Foto. Vado? No. Vai. Appena pronto, fuoco. Basta. Fammi fare lì, vai. Carica. Hai fermato la registrazione?
No, devi fargli sfidare.
Non ci passo davanti in divisa, vedi? Ok. Ferma lei. Mi vedi come? No, è pazzo questo, non posso andare.
But the masses, instead of being critical and comparing the video with other information, either laugh with it or try to find other explanations. If they would think logically about it, they would see that other test videos claim a high transfer of energy on impact when an AK-47 hits a ballistic plate. While in the previous video, you saw that there is exactly no transfer of energy, as the man was able to stand straight without the least amount of difficulty and without moving backwards from the shot.
Shitty plastic wrapping. This is why you see the damage. So what you see here is the transfer of energy, and it deforms.
Also, science claims fundamental transfer of energy when bullets are hitting ballistic plates. The Ministry of Truth spans over entertainment and education. In reality, a ballistic plate does not move 1 millimeter when shot. What Orwell means by Crime Stop is exactly what you see here in the video, that the masses fail to perceive logical errors that would lead to the discovery of the lies. The vulnerability of the masses for mass manipulation is greatly underestimated. The Church has manipulated the whole of Europe for more than 1,000 years. The Church kept preaching the miracles that no one ever saw, and even when everything contradicted it, the masses kept believing it because it was what they had been told all their lives. People simply don't acknowledge facts that do not fit inside their framework, which is how lies can persist, especially the big lies, which are not expected. Even though the facts prove otherwise, like for example the gun tests on wood earlier in the presentation, the majority of the people will invent other explanations. While these tests will always give the same empirical results, due to the internet nowadays, personal testimonials can be gathered of people who have been shot. Many of them report it only felt like a punch in the stomach, or they did not even notice it due to adrenaline. And as a reaction, instead of starting to doubt the validity of what is broadcasted by the system about guns, some self-claimed expert concludes, it depends, without asking himself why in movies and the news, gunshots are always presented as fatal, and never as an event that allows one to continue fighting for hours afterwards. When experiencing something that does not fit the narrative, civilians listen to the system, which acts deliberately vague and calls in variable circumstances, in order to defend itself against a reality that they are systematically suppressing. Orwell describes this defense in 1984 as follows. Sometimes 2 + 2 is 3. Sometimes it's 4. And sometimes it's 5. Already in the beginning of the 20th century, the system gave explanations about why experiences with guns in reality were different from what was claimed in the media. When soldiers kept on fighting after being shot, the system stated that they should have fallen down, claiming it was not smart to continue fighting. There are countless reports on the phenomenon of being shot. Here the person explains it feels like a hard punch in the stomach and simply kept on fighting. A second one got shot in the leg and kept on fighting, thinking it was someone else that got hit. And a third one got shot and continued fighting. At the end of the battle, after hours, it had to be pointed out to him that he was shot. The lie about gun impact is not only debunked through empirical tests and checking other people's experiences, it is also debunked through applying basic physical formulas. Bullet impact is measured in energy, joule, a metric that can be checked on every package of bullets. An arquebus of the 15th century had a bullet mass of 85 grams and a velocity of 290 meters per second, which makes 3,574 joule, according to the physical formula of energy. A musket of 1722 had a bullet mass of 32 grams and a velocity of 475 meters per second, which makes 3,643 joule. A .308 sniper rifle has a mass of 11 grams and a velocity of 806 meters per second, which makes 3,572 joule. There is no difference in energy impact between guns from the past and guns from today. Statues and paintings from before the 20th century show armies using guns and swords together, indicating that guns were not fundamentally stronger than swords. Many armors from the past have damage from bullet impact, yet no bullet penetration, indicating that a steel armor protected very well against bullets. On the contrary, in movies about the Renaissance, armors cannot protect against bullets, so the system purposefully gives the wrong image to overstate bullet impact. The system lies double. In movies about the past, they always show guns as fundamentally stronger than swords, in any era. And on top of that, they state that guns nowadays are fundamentally stronger than in the Renaissance. If now gun weight is also added to gun energy comparisons, we see firstly that a modern .308 weights more than an historical gun, yet generates the same bullet energy, making it less efficient than historical guns. And secondly, that the lighter the gun, the less energy, as a light gun cannot make the same velocity for a given bullet mass than a heavier gun. The energy of a 9mm is only 13% of the energy of the heavier guns. And while the historical heavier guns were not able to break through harnesses, the 9mm was supposedly able to shoot through a World War I steel helmet. Now you might ask yourself why this system overstates gun impact. The reason is given in 1984. Oceanic society rests ultimately on the belief that Big Brother is omnipotent and that the party is infallible. But since in reality Big Brother is not omnipotent and the party is not infallible, there is need for an unwearying, moment-to-moment flexibility in the treatment of facts. Leadership in this global society wants to keep control on a global level. As this is not possible through reality, they twist facts about the power of their weapons. In the same way that the church lied about the power of their God to keep control over large areas. This system uses the same tactics as the church in the past. Preach truth and honesty inside the direct experience of civilians. The priests kept preaching. Always tell the truth in every daily matter, whatever the case. Then they lied completely about what is outside of the direct experience of the civilians. This system of today does exactly the same. They preach disinterested honesty and exactness, both in their scientific reporting as well as in their media reporting. In matters in which you can directly experience events, they gain your thrust and demand an extreme level of honesty and exactness. Report exactly what you observe. 3 digits behind the comma, the teacher requests in science class. But it is exactly in things that really matter, and that are overall outside of the direct experience of the civilians, that they lie without scruples. Do you want to know all the lies? Do you want the red pill or the blue pill? If you take the blue pill, you stay in Wonderland. You either believe or convince yourself that what you just watched cannot be true, and go back to the Matrix. If you take the red pill, you will be taken further into the rabbit hole, a hole that is much deeper than what you just discovered.